Hi honey bunnies. Before I get started with the meat and potatoes of this particular video, I wanted to mention a couple of things that I think might be kind of useful to know for those of you who've only just been watching my channel for the last little bit of time, but also for those of you who are planning to be watching me over the summer and just wondering what I'm going to do or if there are going to be changes coming. I know some of you have read my latest blog post, some of you have not, so I just wanted to clear a couple of things up, slight changes that are going to be taking place, and then also just let you guys that are newer to my channel and my life and what I'm up to and who I am know what you can get your hands on from me and how to go about doing that. So my name is Kellyanne Maddox, as you may have noticed. I'm a qualified spiritual counsellor. I qualified in April of 2013. My work is very important to me. I've read Jung for the longest time. I'm totally a fangirl of Jung. And my work revolves principally around ideas like transpersonal psychology and positive psychology, and combining that with the psycho-spiritual tool of tarot, which I believe is just this incredible tool that can help us all to integrate and know ourselves and come to understand each other in a more holistic way. And it's done so much for me. It totally changed my life, and in many ways I just consider myself to be a perpetual student of tarot, and I think tarot is probably the core of what I do in my spiritual practice, or is certainly a good description of what I do in my spiritual practice. I've just realised my Outlook is on. Excuse me one second, let me just sort that out. That's incredibly rude of me, isn't it? I'm a tarot reader, I'm a counsellor, I do business mentoring, I do a number of different things which you can check out over on my website kellyannemaddox.com. I also wanted to let you know about what else you can get from me that is free, that is from my heart to yours, that you can check out if you weren't aware. I've obviously been making videos for a very long time now, as you can see from the number at the beginning of this video. I've been around for, you know, a little while, making videos on this channel, talking about always the same kind of stuff: tarot, psycho-spiritual things, witchcraft, spirituality as a path, and just trying to be as helpful as I can on those topics, and always just produce videos that are helpful and are expansive and might help people to think in a different way or get the advice that they need that they might have been looking for. However, I've been blogging for a lot longer than I've been videoing. I've been blogging since 2010. Yeah, 2010, about tarot originally, and then I brought other things into it. I've blogged about magic and witchcraft, I've blogged about the spiritual journey, I have written thousands of blog posts at this point. So I've been really prolific over on the blog, and it was the fourqueens.blogspot.co.uk, then it was the fourqueens.com, now it's kellyannemaddox.com, but all of the blog posts are there for your enjoyment. There is a little archive thing in the sidebar. You can go back and you can take a look at my blog posts. Yeah, I've got a pretty strong track record in blogging regularly, and so you can enjoy that too. I also have some free stuff, other free stuff that you might not be aware of aside from my YouTube channel. I have a newsletter that you can join where I do very little marketing of my stuff. Actually, more so what I'm moving into now is offering unlisted YouTube videos that I do not put out anywhere else, that are just exclusive to the newsletter. So if you want to get your hands on more video content, then you can join the newsletter. I make SoundCloud audio files about shadow work, about spiritual business, about self-love. You can go over to my SoundCloud, you can check them out. They are all downloadable for free. They're gifts from me to you. I also have 4 e-guides, all of which, well, 3 of which include original collage illustration by yours truly, and one of them just includes, you know, some pretty quotes and stuff from people. But yeah, there are 4 e-guides that you can check out and download and get for free over on my website too, on the free gifts tab, so you can go along and check that out and enjoy yourself some e-guide goodness. If you're into e-guides, then I've got you completely covered. I'm making a 5th e-guide at the moment. I actually revealed a little bit of the collage art for it on Instagram yesterday because I'm so excited. I'm like bubbling over with excitement. I just can't wait to reveal the 5th e-guide, which I can let you know now is all about dreams and dream work, and just getting to know how you can use your dreams to improve your life and discover yourself in a more holistic and in-depth kind of way. So that's super exciting. And then my 6th free e-guide, I'm just a real fan of putting out free e-guides. It's just a thing that I love to do. My 6th free e-guide, I've already decided of what it's going to be about, and my boyfriend has made the collage work for it, and he's already done half of it, and it's a totally different style to my collage stuff, so that's going to be really exciting, going to be a little collaborative project. I have always tried to give of myself in as many different ways as possible, using as many different mediums as possible, and I will continue to do that. If you're new here and you're watching and you're subscribed, thank you, and I hope that this information has managed to kind of direct you down a certain avenue that can lead you towards a free gift that you might want to get, or blog post you might want to read, or whatever. Just hello from me to you, and welcome and much love. The second thing I want to say before I delve into the topic is that my videos are for the most part going to become shorter in length. The Rambling Witch, the Card Slinger, those are going to be longer, and there is going to be a series coming over the summer that again is going to be longer and is going to be much more uncut and much more rambly. However, in the main, I am going to now refrain from creating like one definitive video on just one thing for my channel. I feel like I pressure myself a little bit with that, and it tends to cause me to delay on putting out certain videos that I really want to put out, that I'm really keen to share with you guys, but I feel like I put them off because I'm trying to make sure that I've got all of my thoughts correct and I know exactly how I want to explain something, and it becomes a little bit of a magnum opus, you know. It's like everything that I put out on a particular subject, I just want it to be so invested with everything that I think and feel about that subject, and that is often quite impossible, you know, because I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about a lot of fucking subjects, so a lot of things get shelved for a really long time. And so I've decided that rather than make like one video about everything that I think about anger, or one video about everything that I think about relationships and how, you know, relationship advice, because that's something I get asked a lot, I would rather just put videos out that are shorter and sweeter and maybe more digestible for some people, and then just kind of keep it moving so that the videos are shorter in length. I'm going to link you down below to a blog post that I wrote. It was a Facebook status update, but then it became a blog post as well, and it kind of explains a little bit about what's gone on with me over the last year of my life and what I'm experiencing now, and how that relates to the creative content that I put out on my channel, on my blog, and everywhere else online where you can find me. And hopefully that will kind of explain more about what my direction is going to be for this summer, and I'm very excited about some of the videos that are coming out. I've already started filming footage and putting some thoughts together, and let's just say it's going to be a lot of like rooftop rambles and beachside walks, and it's just, I'm kind of planning to take you on a journey with me if you're up for it and if you want to go on that journey with me. So yeah, I mean, I'm going on the journey regardless, so if you want to climb into my pocket, feel free. That made you sound like Jiminy Cricket or Thumbelina or somebody else equally small, Tinkerbell. Obviously we're both about the same size, but you're probably taller than me because I'm only 5 foot. I'm a 5 foot firecracker. I want to posit a few thoughts to anybody out there who might be in a shitty situation and might feel that it's necessary to reframe that situation. Maybe you are wondering if there's a better way that you could look at it, or maybe you've noticed that you are more focused on the problem than being able to focus on the solution. Maybe you've realised that you need to just snap out of it, you need to shake up your energy, you need to see things in a different way. And I wanted to give you some of my thoughts and tips and advice on that in a way that could maybe help you if you need that help right now. Know when it's healthy and helpful and functional to seek advice from other people in your circle or in your life, and then know equally when the time for requesting advice has gone, when it's served its purpose, when it is no longer functional for you. Sometimes asking for other people's input just isn't always the right way to go about things. Sometimes it can really put you off your own intuitive sense of what is correct. It's kind of like listening to two sat-navs at the same time. I would definitely recommend that if you're stuck in a shitty situation and it's a bit of a cycle and you're really struggling to move yourself out of it, then if you're going to go to other people in your life, know what you're going to them for. You know, if you are going to somebody specifically because they tend to be quite good at giving tough love, and you want somebody to like pull you up by your bootstraps and kind of remind you to snap out of it, then you've got to know consciously that you're going to that person for that thing. And don't be afraid to ask for that specific thing either. Don't be afraid to go to a friend or family member and say, you know what, you are my go-to tough love person, give me some tough love. And just ask for that specifically. If you just want to vent and cry and speak and just get it all out and blah, then equally go to somebody that you know can hold that space for you and create that atmosphere for you. And don't be afraid to say that that is what you want. Don't be afraid to assert that that is why you've gone to somebody, and would it be okay for them to just hold some space for you to do that and experience that in the moment and go through those feelings. If you are getting a lot of advice and a lot of input, or you're reading a lot of blog posts, or you're watching a lot of videos to try and snap you out of the cycle that you're in, and you're finding that you're actually taking on just a shitload of advice and a shitload of external stimuli, and it's actually kind of making you feel more confused and more pent up, I would definitely recommend just stopping everything, closing the laptop, putting the phone on silent, going outside, and to the greatest extent that you possibly can for your physical ability and for where you live in the world, get some air, take some air, you know, listen to the natural world. You know, you're a part of it, you're not divorced from it. And 9 times out of 10, it has the answers that you seek. It is a teacher. It doesn't speak in any, you know, tongue that you know, any human language that you know, but it is speaking. It's speaking all the time. Sometimes when there's nothing else for it, I just go to the sea and I just listen to the sea, and I watch those waves, and I watch that tide come in and come out, and I watch the seagulls ducking and diving and fighting mid-air over a hamburger or whatever the fuck, and the answer is there. The answer is there. Nature is the oracle. 9 times out of 10, if a situation has gotten to the point where it's really ingrained and it feels really as though you cannot get yourself out of it, either it's a mindset or it's something external that you keep coming up against that you can't power through, the likelihood is that you're filtering to some degree or another. And filtering is basically a form of cognitive distortion whereby you only accept the evidence that fits your narrative. The narrative that is already set up in your head is supported by certain kinds of evidence, and you allow that evidence to come into your consciousness. At the same time, you are pushing away or devaluing or silencing any evidence to the contrary. A lot of people do this when they are really like steeped in the pit of depression or anxiety or phobias and insecurity. They see, for example, somebody's criticism of them as proof that they are not worthy, whilst at the same time they could be receiving a lot of praise from another corner or from many different people, but it doesn't fit their narrative of worthlessness. Okay, so they block out the praise. They're more than happy to allow in the criticism because it sets them up for the narrative that they have developed in their mind, that they're worthless, they can't do it, they're incapable. But all of this praise, all of this love, all of this encouragement, that doesn't fit the narrative, so it is really downplayed or completely ignored. Where are you filtering? This is a shadow work question and a half, and it's really difficult to answer that question sometimes, but be really honest with yourself about where you might be filtering. Whereabouts are you being very selective about the evidence that you're choosing to see? Whereabouts can you focus on something more helpful? I like to use, as much as I can, as often as I can, I like to use the words helpful and unhelpful rather than positive and negative. For me, that was a major game changer in my own journey, and maybe it could be for you too. I think positive and negative are just too, they're too monochromatic. It's too black and white. It's too like it's either this box or it's this box. And I often also feel that when we use the terms positive and negative, I feel a little bit like we're saying that we can't look at anything that is painful because it's negative, and therefore, no, ixnay on that shit. You know, we can't look at anything that is unpleasant. We can't look at anything that hurts our ego. We can't look at any, you know, because it's negative. Whereas helpful and unhelpful, I feel we've got a lot more leeway there, and we can make decisions for ourselves as individuals much more effectively based on whether something is helpful or unhelpful for us. So, for example, if I want to look at something really shitty that's going on within my psyche that's really painful for me, but I know that it's going to be helpful to me, I know that it's productive, I know why I'm doing it, and I know that it's going to be worthwhile, then I'm going to go ahead and do it in the spirit of shadow work and in the spirit of being honest with myself. Equally, I can look at a way in which I might be torturing myself or focusing on something really shitty that's making me feel bad, and I can look at it and objectively think, okay, that's not helpful. That is just keeping me stuck where I am. It's not doing anything good for me. It's making me feel even more fraught and even more anxious, so I'm going to stop. Ask yourself whereabouts you are being selective with the evidence that you're choosing to see, with the kind of aspects that you're choosing to focus on, and then have a look at the things that you're downplaying that might actually be really helpful to you to kind of recognise and be grateful for and bring into your consciousness more often. Sometimes we remain stuck in the same mindset or the same situation, or the same cycle keeps occurring for us that's really crappy and feels really bleh. Sometimes we stay stuck there over and over again because we haven't reached a point where we feel able to go into radical acceptance. Radical acceptance is where you basically just see what is going on right now in the moment and you are honest about it. Whether it feels good, whether it feels bad, whether it actually means that you've got to look something square in the eye that you've been trying to avoid for fucking years. Radical acceptance can take on many different forms. It can happen in the midst of many different situations, but sooner or later we do have to come to a point where we stop focusing on what we want to occur in the future, and we stop agonizing over what happened in the past, and we stop thinking I should have and I would have and I could have. You know, we stop doing all of that. We stop fantasizing completely. We stop plotting, and we actually just come to the present, the absolute present, with everything as it is. It's a form of realism that can be so scary, but it's so fucking liberating. And in radical acceptance, you come to a moment where you just see everything without any lens over the situation, and you look at it for exactly what it is. If there is something in the corner of the room and it's a big old mess and you've been like refusing to look at it for ages, and it's just been there and it's festering and it's getting more and more out of hand, and you just have been suppressing it for months and months, radical acceptance is the moment where you just snap out of that and you look at that mess and you say, okay, I'm in the room right now, me as I am, not as a millionaire in the future, you know, not as I was in the past. This is me as I am right now, and there's a massive big pile of putrid crap in the corner, and I'm going to look at that crap now. Now is the moment, here, now, I'm present with myself, it's now. That's radical acceptance, and it's scary, and that's why some people avoid doing it for years and years. Radical acceptance, like I said, can occur in all kinds of ways, and if it's something that you guys would like me to make a video on, do let me know down below, because I could talk about it for a lot longer. But invite radical acceptance in. Definitely make that into a priority. Have a look at what is really, really there. Be with yourself and hold yourself in this moment, regardless of how difficult this moment is. When you choose to see it for what it is instead of what you wish it would be, or what it used to be, or what it could be, or what you're pretending it is, so much can change so quickly for the better. It does bring on tears, and it does feel disappointing sometimes, and it is scary, but if you can hold yourself through that and go through that process of radical acceptance, it's not very long before solutions become available to you. Ask yourself what is familiar to you about the crappy situation that you find yourself in. This is something that I've been doing for a while on my own journey, and it's something that I discovered through listening to a talk by Tara Brach. Tara is a chosen teacher of mine. Her lessons, her lectures, her talks that she gives are absolutely amazing, and if you've never heard of Tara Brach, it is not a fucking moment too soon. I will leave her YouTube channel for you down below. You are welcome. She's just unreal. She's unreal. She's really putting forward something so valuable and giving of herself with such a generosity of spirit, and that's all you can really ask somebody to do, and she gives tenfold more than I could ever even expect her to. And she's given me so many downloads, and in so many ways been a mother to me, like a surrogate spiritual mother to me. Love Tara. And I was listening to one of her talks once, and she said, ask yourself how the conflict is familiar to you. Ask yourself how this difficult situation is familiar to you. Cast your mind back. What does it remind you of? 9 times out of 10, when something feels really shitty, when you're going through something really difficult and you just want to shake it off, or you just want to get rid of it, or you just want to get over it, normally it reminds you of something else. Normally it's an old wound, or it pokes an old wound, you know? And a lot of the time when you can realise that, it really brings you down off the ledge in a weird way. You know, when I realise that something reminds me of something else from long ago, and that the wound is not just from whatever is going on with this present difficult situation, it's from somewhere a long time ago in the distant past, when I was a kid and I was less emotionally able to cope with maybe things that were done to me in the playground, or maybe conditioning from my parents. Once I realised that, it really helps. It really, really helps, and it could do for you too. So ask yourself how the current difficulty is familiar to you. How have you come across it before? How did you deal with it before, the last time that it happened? What is the stem that goes down to the root? What is the root? Where is that wound inside of you that feels a little bit like it's being waggled with a stick by the current situation? See if you can get any illumination from that. I definitely would recommend that. I always like to say that having a spiritual path and a spiritual practice has really helped me to understand the lesson in something much faster. I feel like a long time ago, before I had a spiritual practice and before I was really into thinking of myself as a spiritual seeker and a perpetual student of mysticism, if you like, it would take me a really long time to figure out what the lesson was behind something crappy, and it would take me a long time to shake myself out of difficult situations. Now, of course, it's true, I have depression and I've always had depression, and that will be part of it for sure, that sense of stagnation and that sense of inability to bring myself out of it. But I definitely think that when you, before I was on a spiritual journey, before I was on this spiritual path, I was more of a, why the fuck is this happening to me? Like, why me? Angrily, in a frustrated way, in an exasperated way. Whereas now, when I've been on the spiritual journey for a really long time, now I'm more like, huh, why me? What does this have to show me? Why is this here? Why is this shown up now? This is so interesting. You know, I just have a totally different way of seeing it. I see it in with much more of a sense of inquiry. I see it in much more of an experimental way. I see it in more of an open Taoist kind of way, where I want to flow with it and I want to flow into it. I want to know what something has to show me so that I can make use of it. And if something is really pushing your buttons, if a situation is really getting you down, if you feel like you cannot emancipate yourself from it, or you feel that in some way it's always occurring in one way or another and it's just stressing you out, definitely see your buttons being pushed as a bit of a blessing. That is a total reframe, and I know I'm asking you to do something quite ambitious here in terms of reframing, but try and reframe it to see it as a gift, that your buttons are being pushed. You know, there's something to learn there, there's a lesson deep down, and if you can bring it back to self, which is something I always love to say and I've said for a really long time, but it works, you know, if you can bring it back to self in that way, and if you can say, okay, what does this have for me? What is the gift, the elusive, strange gift, the ethereal gift that is invisible to me right now, but if I just open up my third eye, if I just open up my spiritual eyes, if I just connect to that sense of the omnipresent energy of divinity that's within me and all around me, what does this strange experience that I'm having, this experience of pain, this experience of anger, this experience of frustration, what does it have for me? What is the seed that it could plant within me if I allow it to do so? And that can just be magical, and that is a shift, that is a complete reframe, and that is something that's got to come from you, and it will come through you, and it will just make the situation just so gorgeous in a way that you never would have thought that it could be. And solutions come through that reframing process. I hope this has been helpful, and thank you so much for watching. Much love, blessed be.
Cybernetic organism, living tissue over metal endoskeleton.
Ooh, oh, robot, yeah. I like that. No, don't go.
This episode is brought to you by Vimeo Pro.